Alright, folks, you probably look at this and you say to yourself, well, why is that in there? Well, why am I looking at this? Well, if you take a look at what's there, folks, you kind of have an idea as to why it's there. You see the word, if you can read it correctly. Yeah. Just read them correctly, you kind of get the idea. But the reason this is in front, if you will, is a lot of people I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people that constantly keep asking the question as to why. Why people like myself and others out there are fans of stuff like this. Fans of the melting gag, or as TV tropes has called it at times, the lustful melt. Why we're fans of that. Why we're fans of invisibility, of girls going invisible, if you will, or why we're fans of the shape-shifting, and all that stuff. Well, it's quite simple, ladies and gentlemen. You see, it fascinates us. It's something that when we watch it, we know it's fantasy, but it makes us wonder what would it be like in real life. Sure, the closest we've gotten to any of this, if you will, is the movies. Like live action movies and television. Like for example, you had Alex Mack, Secret World of Alex Mack. The melting gag, if you will. Not a lustful melt, but a melting gag, if you will. Basically, homage to the lustful melt or the melting gag was used in her morphine sequences. So, that's the closest you've seen in live action. But most of the time, the lustful melt or the melting gag has been used in animation. The invisibility situation, used in animation as well, but mostly live action. For example, it goes back to the classics, like Invisible Man, Invisible Woman. And then into the modern era, you had Invisible Woman, the television pilot, a movie pilot for a proposed television series that never happened in 1983. You had the Invisible Man in the original Invisible Man series in the 1950s. You had the Invisible Man series in the 2000s. And then in between all of that, you had things like takes on the invisibility, whether it was comedy or horror. You had Hollow Man, of course. You had Memoirs of an Invisible Man. You had, almost direct-to-video features like Invisible Mom, Mom's Out of Sight, Invisible Dad, things like that. Heck, you had a sequel to Invisible Mom called Invisible Mom 2. Go figure. So obviously it was popular. And, stuff like that. Heck, you've had shows and episodes where invisibility itself was basically a one-shot deal. Comic books have proven this as well. Where it's mostly a female character. Sometimes a male, but from what I've read online, mostly female, that has always ended up with invisibility. I mean, heck, you take a look at the abomination of an animated show called Bratz, if you will. They did an invisibility episode. And the list, again, could go on and on and on. I mean, heck, 1988, between 87 and 88, they did what is considered probably one of the better invisible-related movies of the 1980s, even though it was mostly a kind of small budget, but it was very good. I mean, it had Jay Underwood in it. It had China Phillips of Wilson Phillips, the Invisible Kid. And it mostly focused on Jay Underwood's character being invisible, on creating this invisibility formula, and him and his friend using it to their advantage. And then, of course, one of the most popular scenes out of there is when China Phillips gets to try it, and she does a little striptease after she goes invisible. So, yeah, the invisibility thing, or the invisibility deal, is something that we've always been fans of. Everybody's been a fan of it. I mean, heck, take a look at what they did recently. It was shown yesterday on the Today Show on NBC, and everybody's been talking about it. Some guy, some magician or whatever he is, used an invisibility prank. Basically, he went to a McDonald's. He went to a McDonald's on multiple occasions, obviously, or a different McDonald's or something like that. And he ordered his food, paid for it, and then when he went up to the second window to get his food, he used some kind of a trick, kind of, I think, ducked under or something like that. Kind of ducked under or something like that, and he basically made it look like he was invisible, and nobody knew what the heck was going on. It just threw him off, because all of a sudden here came this, driverless car just coming up to the window, and again, no one knew exactly what was going on. So, go figure, right? But you see, even with that, there are people that are fans of that situation. The same with, like I said, the melting gag or the lustful melt. There's a lot of fans of that, because it's it's in the realm of fantasy, but we always wonder what it would be like, to have that happen. Even the shape-shifting powers, what would it be like to have that power to shape-shift into anything we wanted? Gave us, by basically giving us the power to, like I say, shape-shift into anything we want. Or as Chaotic Lover 2 on fanfiction.net and on DeviantArt has put sometimes in their stories, give us the opportunity not only shape-shift, but to go semi-liquid, if you will, and go under, or just completely melt down and, go into a crack or something like that. Again, it's all because, again, the reason we're fans of it, people like me are fans of it, is because it's in the realm of fantasy, but it intrigues us as to wonder, man, what would it be like if that happened in real life? What would it be like if we could use that in real life? Or had that ability in real life, I mean, you have shows that kind of a hybrid of animation and live action, like the Lizzie McGuire movie and her show that preceded it. The first episode and in the movie, you had the animated Lizzie do the lustful melt in it. So it kind of shows you in both that pilot episode and in the movie. So it kind of shows you basically that people are a fan, and it still fascinates people to want to use that situation. I mean, they even use it to this day. They've used it in recent cartoons over the years. So it's still out there, and that's why people are fans of it. I mean, heck, okay. And it just doesn't stop there either. It's like, you got the you got the slime situation, if you will, or the morphine situation, like I said, the fusion deal. I mean, heck, there are people over at DeviantArt, and I think a lot of people know this, and even on certain sites like Fasanting, Erica's Portal, somebody by the name of Burner or something like that there. The fascination with this kind of stuff just goes, beyond what you can think. I mean, for example, there are people like one person's called Doodle Dude, that's how it's pronounced. And he's got characters that he draws or has commissions people to draw, whether it's comic strips, sequences, or not. Well, he has mostly his female characters who have this ability to basically shapeshift, morph, liquefy, meltdown, and all that. One of his primary things that he does with his characters is he has them fused together. And it could just be 2 individuals fusing, it could be 3, it could be 4, you know. I mean, heck, he had, for New Year's, he had basically all the characters. I don't know if it was all the slime girl characters he had, or just all the characters he knew. Just had them all come together and fuse together into one girl. You know, there was one comic strip, I don't know if he did or he had a commission where he had, 3 girls basically form, kind of shapeshift into different items. One girl shapeshift into a TV monitor, one girl into a game, one girl into a game console which the game can go in. And by doing so, they accidentally fused into one. So, again, the fascination is out there. The fascination, my friends, is out there. And I know a lot of people will think, well, that's kind of weird why you people would be into it. It's not entirely weird. It's just the way things are. You know? I mean, even back in the 1960s, you had your cartoons and animes like Princess Knight, Pauline, and, the list could go on, that had characters, mostly females, for some odd reason, doing this. I mean, you have one called, kind of magically Memlo, or Lily, or whatever her name is, that had the powers to shapeshift into an adult, back into a kid, or if she took 2 different pills, could turn into a fetus, an embryo, if you will, and then kind of be reborn as a different kind of animal of her choosing. So again, the fascination for this kind of stuff, whether it's, like I say, the lustful meltdown gag, if you will, the shape-shifting, it allows you to shapeshift into different things, people, or liquefy, or shapeshift into liquid and kind of basically like a meltdown and go into stuff and things like that. Invisibility, the fusions and all that. It's been around. The fascination for it has been around for years, for centuries. Probably at most, but mostly for well, maybe not centuries, but for decades. And it's been there. I mean, heck, the lustful melt, according to TV tropes, the earliest indication of that, Swooner Crooner, which was a Porky Pig cartoon. There's your answer there. The second earliest indication, Parlez-vous Woos from Popeye. And heck, even Popeye took advantage of the invisibility deal. Again, the fascination for this, the fascination over this kind of stuff has been around for decades. It's been around for years. I mean, why do you think when Tiny Toons and Animaniacs came around, they took full advantage of that lustful melt deal? They took full advantage of it. It's because it was still popular. It was still... they had a fascination with it. And it was still popular. It was fascinating. That's why you see all this kind of stuff pop up in fan fiction, pop up on television, pop up in movies, pop up in, in fan art and stuff. Because people are fascinated with it. That's why they pop up in comic books and novel books. They're fascinated with it. I mean, heck, Chaotic Lover, too, at fanfiction.net, and Jose Ramon at DeviantArt draw pictures and write stories involving established characters like a Sally Acorn, like a Fifi LaFume, a Lola Bunny, a Brainy Barky from Crypto the Superdog, Sasha from the All Dogs Go to Heaven franchise. Always, this is why they always, write stories with them with the shape-shifting abilities and elastic abilities because it's fascinating to them.